Chelsea versus Sunderland, August 1979. In this video, we rewind to 1979 and an opening day fixture for the 79-80 season between Chelsea and Sunderland. Let's hear the stories. Sunderland Seaburn Casual, Paul told us. London always had that charge in the air. You felt it the minute you stepped off the train, but this time it wasn't excitement. It was something darker. August 79, Stamford Bridge. Season just started, sun blazing, and there we were. Sunderland Seaburn Casuals, fresh clobber, fresh crew, and full of northern front. We'd come down in decent numbers, more than most expected, maybe 300 strong all told. A few split off into smaller mobs for the journey across the city, as was normal back then. Avoid the Met, avoid getting scooped, but still, something didn't sit right. My lot, about 20 of us, got the tube across from Victoria, aiming for West Brompton. Word was Chelsea's North Stand lads were on the prowl, but no sign of them yet. We were wary, but still laughing, bantering, winding up the locals. It was the usual away day buzz, but the mood flipped fast. Just before South Kensington, doors opened and in they piled. Chelsea. Not the average mugs either. These were the North Stand boys. And they weren't there for banter. Straight in, swinging. One lad had a belt buckle in his fist. Another had what looked like a chair leg. And one even had a bit of scaffolding pole. Where the fuck he got that from, I'll never know. Panic. Chaos. Bodies flying. I took a boot in the ribs trying to shield one of our younger lads. 16 and barely out of school. Screams echoed down the carriage, fists cracking skulls, blood on the floor. We fought back. Of course we did. But they had the drop on us. 2 stops later, they jumped off, laughing like it was just a game. It was only just beginning. At Stamford Bridge it was eerie. Quiet. Too quiet. The old away terrace in the corner looked penned in. Cops everywhere, but they looked bored, indifferent, maybe even complicit looking back. Some of us managed to get in early, hoping for safety inside. Big mistake. Once in the ground we thought we'd made it. But inside the North Stand it all kicked off again. Chelsea were already there, waiting. Not just gobbing off, full-on attacks. Pints of piss, coins, bits of brick. A copper tried to break it up and got battered with his own truncheon. Another one got dragged off his horse outside. Sickening. You could hear the sirens, but no one coming to help. The game itself? 0-0, barely registered. Our eyes weren't on the pitch. They were scanning the stands, trying to spot the next lot coming at us. One of the lads from Hendon chucked a fire extinguisher across at them, cleared a few out. Another launched a bucket of builder's sand. It was like something from a war film. After the match, we were herded by the police like cattle. Thought they were leading us back to safety to the tube. But as soon as we got near Earl's court, they peeled off, literally turned their backs and vanished. It was a setup. No doubt in my mind, that's when all hell broke loose. Earl's court was under renovation. Scaffolding everywhere. Chelsea's main mob, Headhunters this time, were lying in wait. Maybe 300 strong, maybe more. The place was a trap, and we walked right into it. First it was bricks, then bottles, then the fucking scaffolding poles. They were chucking them through the carriage windows as we tried to pile onto the train. Panic. Screaming. We were literally fighting for our lives. One of our lads got dragged half into the carriage and battered before we pulled him back in. Blood everywhere. The tube was mayhem. You could walk the full length of the carriages in those days, and we had to, scrapping our way down the line. At each stop, they tried to get in again. Doors would open and they'd surge forward. Kicking, swinging, roaring. We fought back, shoulder to shoulder, fists flying, feet stomping. Somehow we stayed on our feet. I remember looking at one of our lot, Davy, tough lad from Seaburn, blood pouring from his scalp, shirt torn but still swinging, said to me, "If we get out of this alive, I'm never coming back here again." I believed him. In that moment, I honestly thought we'd be lucky to make it back to King's Cross in one piece. Eventually we made it, battered, blooded, shaken to the core, but not broken. They thought they'd buried us that day, but we remembered. And when Chelsea came to Roker later that season, they got a taste of payback. That's another story. But I'll never forget that day in August 79. The heat, the chaos, the fear. I've been in plenty of scraps over the years, but that one? That was different. That was war. Chelsea headhunter Andy told us. You could smell it in the air. Blood, beer, and fear. London in late summer. We'd been watching the calendar for weeks waiting for this one. Sunderland first game of the season, and they were bringing a few down. No surprise. Northern lot had been getting lippy for a while, puffed up on their promotion and dreaming of making a name for themselves in the smoke. Big mistake. We were ready. Had been for days. North Stand was buzzing. Lads from Wandsworth, Battersea, Fulham, even a few of the old Kensington hard cases dusted off for the day. Talking about a battering they took up in Sunderland in '75 and wanting revenge. This wasn't a scrap, it was a message. First home game of the season, and we were going to remind every travelling mob that Stamford Bridge was a war zone if you came swaggering in. We got word early doors that Sunderland were coming in mobs, some through Victoria, others through Paddington, a bunch changing at Earl's Court. Beautiful. Like sheep moving into the slaughterhouse. First off, South Ken. We'd clocked about 15 of them, Seaburn lot, clearly trying to be clever. They weren't ready, never are really. They like to dress the part, Fiorucci and Sergio Tacchini, but peel that away and you've got kids trying to play a man's game. We piled into the carriage just as the doors slid open. The fear hit them before we did. One of ours had a scaff pole already stashed, another had a length of steel cable. Old boy stuff, effective. A few of them tried to front it, fair play, but the look in their eyes told the truth. They weren't up for it. They were just trying to get out of London in one piece. That skirmish set the tone. They managed to bundle onto another carriage, but we stayed with them. Every stop, same routine. Doors open, chaos, punches, kicks, the odd boot through the glass. We moved up and down the carriages like wolves on a kill. By the time they reached the bridge, they were battered and scattered. But we weren't done. Inside the ground, the old North Stand was bouncing. We'd already got a few lads in the Sunderland end. Nothing new. And when the whistle went, we lit the touch paper. All that old school stuff. Pints flying, coins chucked, chants echoing like thunder. They looked shook. A few tried to hold their ground, but that was never going to end well. One copper tried to break us up. He got dragged, proper ragdolled, and battered with his own truncheon. Another mounted Fed got yanked off his horse out front. Pure chaos. Even the coppers didn't fancy it that day. The game? 0-0 if you care. But no one was watching. This wasn't about football. It was about control. And we had it. Afterwards, we regrouped sharpish. No lingering. Straight to the next phase. We'd heard their main mob was being escorted by the old Bill toward Earl's Court. That was the plan, at least. But we'd seen it before. Met walk them halfway and then melt away, like ghosts. Can't say we didn't appreciate the help. Earl's Court was perfect. Station under renovation, scaffolding everywhere. Lads positioned on the platforms, some at the entrance, some on the footbridge. It was a proper trap, the sort of setup you dream about the night before. They came round the corner all brave and bold, about 80 of them, maybe more, but it was like watching lambs headed to the knife. Soon as they were in sight, we hit them. Scaff poles flying, bricks bouncing, bottles smashing. You ever see a mob try to turn and run inside a tube station? Carnage. Some got onto the train, but we followed them. Ran the length of the carriage like it was a trench. One of theirs pulled a fire extinguisher, fair play, but it barely slowed us down. You could hear it in the carriage, the panic. Northern accents shouting, crying, begging each other to hold the line. But they had nothing left. You could see it on their faces. The fear, the regret. They'd been battered in the streets, smashed on the tube, terrorized in the ground, and now they were just trying to get home with their teeth. We let a few go, deliberately. Send them back to tell the tale. That's how you build a reputation. I remember one of our old boys saying, "They'll never come back down in numbers after this." He wasn't far wrong. But credit where it's due, they gave it a go. Not like some mobs who fold the second you square up. Sunderland had a bit about them, but this was our manor, our rules, our war. We didn't just win the day, we owned it. From South Ken to Stamford Bridge to Earl's Court, every move was ours. Every ambush, every blow. That's what being a headhunter meant in '79. Control, power, fear. We weren't just fighting fans, we were rewriting the rules. We thank Paul and Andy for their recollections. It's clear Sunderland had a tough time down at Chelsea that day back in '79, but there's no shame in that. Stamford Bridge was a very underestimated place to visit for most away fans, and you could pay the cost if you met them on a bad day. And obviously Sunderland did just that. Thanks for watching. Please comment, share, like and subscribe, as it really helps our channel to give you bigger, better content. Until the next video, bye for now. Oh, and here's a bonus. Chelsea and Sunderland modern-day firms in 2 short videos.